I decided to look into radio frequency for facial tightening and also body tightening several years ago. We, at that point, were a little bit disappointed with the thermage technology at that time, and so I decided to research into a bunch of different companies. Exilis was one of the ones that we looked into, and we demoed the machine multiple times before I made the very smart decision of purchasing one. So Exilis has been such a slam dunk in our practice. Patients are virtually, I would say, addicted to the procedure because it gives practically immediate tightening. It's a beautiful procedure for if someone has an event, particularly here in Newport Beach, where people are really into very charitable organizations and they need to be photographed a lot in public. They want to have something that's immediate. And so Exilis falls beautifully into that profile where you can give someone immediate tightening and there's no downtime at all. In fact, the sensation of Exilis is very much similar to having a massage. A hot stone massage is what a lot of patients say. So we actually have quite a few socialites in this practice that get it done before their events. And actually I had one lady recently who the schedule was so busy, she actually started crying when we couldn't get her on the schedule, so we had to make special accommodations for her. So we were very happy with the Exilis Elite technology, and when Vanquish was debuted, we were introduced to it, and I was a little skeptical initially because we already had cool sculpting, and they were saying that Vanquish was a device that could melt fat without actually touching the patient. When you think about that as a physician, that sounds radically different, and it sounds almost impossible to do. Well, what we did was we went ahead and demoed quite a few patients and staff out, including myself, and we did find it was a very easy procedure, and we could see results fairly quickly after even just one treatment. So I decided to buy my first Vanquish back in 2013, and we've been very successful with it. I think what physicians need to think about when they're buying devices, I bought multiple devices over the past several years. I've been in private practice, my own practice for the past 11 years. One of the biggest things that physicians need to think about is return on investment, or what we call ROI. So when you look at devices, you have to think about the initial upfront cost of the machine, what consumables you're going to need to continue running that machine, and also operator time, and who is going to actually be doing that procedure for you. So with Exilis Elite, that can be performed by ancillary staff, and that frees up your time. Patients are very happy, and they develop a very, very close relationship with that personnel, the staff member that they are with. With Vanquish, it's a beautiful procedure in that it's very similar to cool sculpting in that once the patient is established in their room and they're getting the procedure done, so over the 2 years that we've been doing Vanquish, and now I currently have 2 machines because it's been so successful, we have not had any adverse events. So it's a very safe machine, and patients are really happy with it. I can tell you that with Exilis Elite, that we recouped our initial investment within 2 months. I know that's pretty impressive, but with Vanquish, we also did the same. And that we did it so quickly that I decided to buy a second Vanquish machine. So return on investment within 2 months is unheard of for a lot of people, but you can do it yourself with Exilis Elite and with Vanquish. The beautiful thing about Vanquish is that, let's say a patient comes back after 2 months after their final result from Vanquish has appeared, and they say, I just wish that maybe I got a little bit more improvement or this. You can do that at no extra cost for you. And that is a huge advantage. With other devices, there's going to be consumables that you have to pay for, right? But with Vanquish, there's none other than the operator time of the person setting the patient up, getting the machine tuned, and then there you go. So with Vanquish, it's a beautiful device in that you can give patients extra treatments for because they wanted a little extra improvement. You can afford to do that. It doesn't cost you any more to do that. So as far as demographics, I would say with Vanquish, what is very interesting with the body contouring market, because I've been in this market for 5 years, is that initially my practice was very much Botox and fillers and lasers and so forth, and as far as aesthetics. But what you will find with body contouring, which is huge, is that you will see your practice do a dramatic shift. With body contouring, at least half your patients will be male. And these are men that never really thought about doing anything, and you don't really even have to promote that much outside your office. Them coming in just in your office, seeing a loop or having brochures out there, they will ask about fat. They may be embarrassed to talk about it, but when they see the before and afters, they're going to ask you about it in the room. They may be in here for a skin check, or they're worried about a mole or skin cancer, but when they see these these before and afters, they're going to ask you, well, what about that? Or what about that I saw in your waiting room? And so you're going to find that you're going to have a huge percentage of the male populations that you never captured before aesthetically, now part of your patient population as far as like body contouring, which is very exciting because you'll see a lot of plastic surgeons moving very aggressively into this field, body contouring, because they're now able to capture men. And once you've captured men into body contouring, then you can capture them into other things. So you can capture them into Botox and fillers, which for them, it's kind of still a bit taboo, but body contouring for them is not taboo. We typically do for abdominal areas, which is the recent FDA clearance, we do 45 minutes for 5 treatments. And patients will lose anywhere on average from 1 to 5 inches. And we've seen actually even higher than that. But there are other areas that you can do Vanquish on, including the back rolls, the arms, and now Vanquish does have the flex applicator. The reason why the flex applicator is so innovative is that the panels run from outer thigh all the way to inner thigh. So it treats the entire thigh from top to bottom. There's no other technology that can do that painlessly. And then it's 30 minutes per leg once a week for the patients. And they can lose anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch, which is pretty amazing because if you can lose that amount, you can fit into skinny jeans again, right? So, I mean, for a lot of patients, you would have to do other technologies multiple times to be able to achieve that kind of result. And the best thing about it is that there's no downtime and it doesn't hurt, right? So I think that having had a lot of devices over the years, what I have personally found is that if you have a device that causes patients pain, they're less likely to come back again, and they're more likely to have complaints, or if they don't see the results that they wanted, they're more likely to be unhappy. So what I found with both Exilis Elite and with Vanquish, you really don't have any patient complaints, and in fact, patients are addicted to it. Having both machines, I do not believe that Vanquish is something that is the polar opposite of cool sculpting in terms of you can't have both in the office. We have found actually that they've been very complementary machines in our practice because Vanquish is designed really, if someone is larger or they have large amounts of fat, to whittle the fat down and thin it out. And that's what the FDA approval is for, is to reduce the circumference of the abdomen. So it's to thin this whole area out. But if someone has some leftover bulges that you can't get with Vanquish, then you just cool sculpt those areas. So they complement each other. So I think that having both in my practice, I'm able to assess a patient when I see them and tell them honestly which procedure I think they should approach. And I'm very honest. I will tell them, I think maybe we should try Vanquish first, or maybe we should try cool sculpting first. And I really take into account the patient's budget and what they're trying to accomplish, because ultimately you have to go with a Hippocratic oath. You don't want to hurt anyone, and you want to make your patients happy. And that's how you get patient retention. So with Vanquish, what's happening with the head of the Vanquish is that it has multiple heads of radio frequency delivered and targeted towards what we call the impedance or the resistance of the fat. So when it's coming in at multiple angles to target the fat, it's bypassing the external skin and the dermis, and it's targeting the impedance or the resistance. And that's how it's able to target the fat and get it up to 44 degrees and not injure any of the superficial skin. When you get the fat up to that temperature and you get it up to the current time of 45 minutes, the results that we've been seeing is 59% reduction in the fat. That's pretty dramatic. 59% reduction in the fat over the series of treatments. So what the heat does is it causes apoptosis, or it causes the fat cell to essentially die off. So similar to cryolipolysis or cool sculpting, that's also apoptosis, but that's using cooling. So Vanquish is using heat to cause this apoptosis. A lot of patients will ask, well, what happens to the fat, or what happens to the fat cell after the procedure? What happens to the fat is it gets naturally excreted by your body, and then the fat cell gets taken up by your immune system over the next couple of days. I would say that the newest thing that we have been advising patients to do, just as we've done with cool sculpting, is that we recommend that patients massage the areas after treatment, and what that does, it enhances the results. Because if you can imagine, you're causing apoptosis or breakup of these fat cells. If you continue massaging those areas, you're going to cause further breakup of the fat cells and accelerate and enhance your result much quicker. There's 3 key things that all physicians need to know that are interested in this technology. The first one is that Vanquish just came out with what they call maximum energy. And what that is a hardware and software upgrade that they just came out with that is going to make the machines even better. So, what that does is that it increases the conductivity of the heat to the fat impedance. So, it's going to make the machine more effective for the patient, more comfortable, and more impressive results, and more dramatic than what we've been getting. We've been getting dramatic results, but can you imagine even more dramatic than what we already have? So that's one great thing that the company has just come out with. To the second thing was the Flex applicator. So that's an exciting addition to the Vanquish platform. The third thing that I wanted to talk about with Vanquish is that they just got their FDA approval for circumferential fat reduction of the abdomen. So we've been waiting for that for a while, and it's great that it finally came through because sometimes patients ask that question, and now you can say yes, it has FDA approval or clearance for reduction of fat in the abdominal area. I'm also happy to give out Vanquish to patients. Let's say they've been happy with another procedure and they want to write a testimonial for us. I'll say, hey, do you want to try Vanquish out? I'll give you a free Vanquish if you want to give us a testimonial on how happy you are with another device. So it's a great way to reward patients for being loyal to your practice and saying something nice about you.